Welcome, everybody. You are listening to Andrea and That Guy Fantasy Baseball, and today we're going to talk about some interesting players. We are going to start with Joe Ross.
Came out of the game early tonight, but it wasn't because he was horrible. It was because he got hit. He took a comebacker off of his right leg. He allowed 3 hits and struck out 2 over 3, and the Nationals were crazy offering run support today. It was 11-0 Nationals. My thing with Joe Ross is that I don't trust him at all. I mean, I know that first of all, he's the number 1 player picked up this week in fantasy baseball.
Yeah, I think we've all made that mistake in the last couple of years of drafting or adding Joe Ross just because he looked like he could pitch, and he's probably a better reliever than he is a starter.
It says that he made adjustments to his pitch arsenal and his mechanics and that they paid off recently, and of course in his last 3 starts, he had given up 1 run in 18 innings, and he was 3-0 with a .50 ERA with 11 strikeouts. But the problem is that in that same span, he's had 9 walks. So he's walked 9 batters and struck out 11. That to me does not fare well. Since July 21st through August 13th, he's pitched 28 innings. 11 of them have been at home, and 16 of them have been on the road. His ERA on the road is 1.62, and his ERA at home is 5.56 in those 28 innings. I just think that there's so many things about him that don't pan out to me. Every single year since he came up to the majors in 2015, but ever since 2017, he's had a 5 or higher ERA. So the fact that he's the most added player this week, it's interesting to me. I just don't know why people are going to think that this guy is like...
Well, he had a good matchup today going against Pittsburgh. So in that sense, I can understand wanting to stream him, especially if you don't have enough starts going into the week. But other than that, I don't see much of a use to him long term. He was on the road, so obviously looking towards a better start compared to when he's at home. But what were you really expecting out of him? Is he on a 2-start week this week or something? He would have had 2 starts this week because his next one was supposed to be Saturday. Yeah, well, and Scherzer's only had, 1 start since the All-Star break or something like that? I know.
Right now, I know that.
Oh, yeah, because, what was it, right before the All-Star game, I think, is when he broke his nose. And he came out and started that game.
Yeah, he doesn't come out for that, dude. That's no problem.
I think that's the only game that he started. Probably July 1st, I would guess.
So he's going to be activated to start Thursday's game against Pittsburgh. And even with Scherzer back, though, Joe Ross is going to get an opportunity. And I just say, George is all for him. George is super excited. I don't know if he's joking when he says he put $300 on Washington tonight. That's a lot of money. I mean, the matchup is great, right? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame him in that sense. I mean, anybody going against Pittsburgh, I'm definitely going to put my money against Pittsburgh, but I still don't know with Joe Ross. The only thing that really would have made sense was to possibly use him in a DFS tournament today, just because he's going to be low owned, and if he had panned out and got a better outing, I mean, he was pitching pretty well till he took the comebacker. So
yeah, he was pitching fine. He didn't walk any batters because last time I checked, he hadn't walked any batters, and he has gone 6 or more innings the last 2 outings. So as far as DFS is concerned, you could probably expect him to go 5 or 6 innings, at least long enough to get a win. I can understand that part of it. I can understand rostering him in DFS. I don't know if this sample size is big enough to say that he sucks at home and he's good on the road. But since July 21st, a little over a month, this is 28 innings, so it would be last 5 starts, 11 innings at home and 16 innings away. I mean, there's a significant difference between his ERA at home and away. But he's walking batters all over the place on the road. On the road, he has 14 strikeouts and 9 walks, and at home, he only has 4 walks against 10 strikeouts. So it just is weird. His splits are weird. Those walks have got to stop with this guy. If you aren't striking out as many batters as innings, and you're walking as many batters as you're striking out, or near that, there's a big problem. That's going to present big problems for any pitcher. Let's talk about the second most added player this weekend, Ivan Nova.
He's got 3 innings in, 7 hits, 2 earned, no walks, and 1 strikeout.
Guy, in the last 5 starts, not including tonight, he's had 2 complete games, and one of his outings was 8 innings. So he's gone at least 8 innings, 3 out of his last 5 starts, right? Both complete games, he didn't walk anybody. And he just doesn't strike out very many batters. But if you're not walking batters, then it's not so bad if you're not striking out batters. But the last outing on Tuesday, he pitched a complete game. He held the Astros. Out of all the teams, it's the freaking Astros to 1 unearned run. He didn't even earn that run. And then on August 7th, he threw 8 shutout innings, and the White Sox beat Detroit 8-1. He walked 3 and struck out 1. It took him 107 pitches to get through 8 innings, which is, come on, man. We see people go through 100 pitches just to get through 4 or 5 innings.
You know what's funny is in 3 innings today has already given up as many runs as he has in his last 5 starts, counting earned runs, not just runs.
Check out his batting average on balls in play. Literally, it's like 125.
He's getting extremely lucky, yes.
125, 192, 148. I'm like, the White Sox must have some serious defensive skills, or he's getting hella lucky, dude.
Well, I was hearing that they were having lead in the water in Chicago, so maybe it's affecting all the other batter or everyone else except for Nova.
Is this the South Side, or do the Cubbies get it too?
As far as I know, everybody is using Michigan water, so...
Nelly Cruz is back. Already got an RBI tonight. 77th RBI today.
What a shocker playing against the White Sox. The Twins have kind of just destroyed them this year.
Let's talk about Billy Hamilton. He got DFA'd by the Royals on Friday. Nobody really talked about it, but today he got grabbed up by the Braves.
I was wondering where that was going to happen. I'm actually kind of shocked by that. You figure he's going to end up as a bench outfielder, as like a 4th or a 5th outfielder, and you're going to pay this guy $5 million to sit on your bench? Like, quite a bit.
Yeah, they picked him up.
Waivers.
I think they picked him up because they need him as a pinch hitter. I don't think, or a pinch runner, late inning defensive replacement maybe, because he is a good defensive player. I mean, that's really the only thing he has going for him. But they got Austin Riley with a bad knee, Inciarte with a bad hamstring, Nick Markakis has bad wrist, and those guys are all on the 10-day injured list, so they could really use this depth. And apparently, I mean, it's not that hard to believe that Hamilton is a good defensive upgrade over Adam Duvall or Matt Joyce.
Yeah, that's not anything hard to believe. I mean, with the fact Hamilton isn't as fast as what he was even last year, but he's still so fast that, I mean, if he even just has an average glove, he's going to be an above-average defensive fielder for that fact. But other than that, like you said, if you're not really just looking for him as a defensive replacement, he doesn't have too much value for your team.
Definitely not for fantasy, I could tell you that. You can't put him here. I mean, this guy's...
have, like, 18, 19 steals so far this year, and normally at this point he's probably pushing about 35.
And a crappy 211 batting average, dude? It's horrible.
Yeah, that's just nothing well worth it. I mean, the only thing that they really miss out on is, yes, he's a great defensive replacement, but other than that, Duvall has got a lot more power in his bat than what Hamilton, hell, at least Duvall has a bat. I'm not kidding. It's like he's up there swinging a wiffle ball bat or something, Hamilton.
I know. He's horrible. He's absolutely horrible. Everything about him. I mean, I took a chance on him because he was going late in drafts, but he wasn't going late enough to even put him on your roster. And I think I'm done with the whole... I took chances on 2 players, Hamilton and Buxton. Kyle Tucker. Let's talk about Kyle Tucker. And when is he ever going to get called up? They say that he will get called up in September when the rosters expand, because this guy's hit 32 home runs in the minor leagues this year, okay? He's hit 32 bombs, 93 RBIs. Last year he had 93 RBIs in AAA, too, and 24 home runs, but he hit 332 last year. And then he got called up to the majors, and he had 72 plate appearances. He batted 141. It was horrible what he did. He stole 1 base, and he hit no home runs.
I'll tell you when Tucker gets called up.
Why?
When he gets traded.
I don't think they're going to trade him.
That's a terrible thing to do because I really don't feel he's anything worth value. He is worth more to them in a trade right now before they try to show him off in the big, whereas he performs really well in AAA. He's probably one of those dreaded quadruple A players where he's not quite good enough to be in the majors and he's too good for AAA.
He very well could be. I was going to say to you, is this guy going to be the type of player that is very good in the minors and then can't play in the majors? Well, we only have a very small sample size to tell.
15 games, it feels like, that he played last season.
The management basically said that they were not going to trade him, that they say no. They say that they told every team that he is not available. Now, overall this season, he's batting .268 down at AAA, but he had such a horrible April. He batted .165. And then he had a great May, a decent June, and then he was horrible again in July. He batted .194, and now in August he's batting .358. He's not going to join the Astros until September. Reddick is having a horrible... Since the All-Star break, Reddick is hitting .192. He's blocked by Michael Brantley in left field and by Yordan Alvarez at DH. They actually play this kid Miles Straw when they need a bench player because he has lots of speed and he plays center field and shortstop. And Kyle Tucker only plays left and right field. So, I mean, this guy's been streaky. His contact rate has gone down this year. His strikeout rate has increased from 18% last year to 22% this year. He's just not, it doesn't look like he's getting any better. I'm not putting my hopes up for this guy. Literally, I already wrote him off a couple years ago when we saw him at Arizona Fall League because he was just horrible. I tried to stick up for him, but Lenny's like, yeah, no. It was almost like he wasn't even trying.
You know what? He does the same thing that Bellinger does. He's just very unsuccessful with it, whereas he opens his hips and lets his upper body just kind of drive the ball. He gets the foot down and starts to pop his hip open rather than let it happen with the swing. Really feel that's where a lot of his struggles are coming from, because a little hitch like that in your swing, all you got to do is start giving this guy a lot of breaking balls, and he's never going to catch up to him.
Yeah, but they owe Josh Reddick a whole bunch of money.
By Reddick? Because Reddick has been playing so terrible, and this isn't a Chris Davis type deal.
They owe him $13 million.
Yeah, and I understand that, but is it really worth letting that guy keep playing on your team to just continually have him get you outs rather than anything productive? I don't know how much better Kyle Tucker would be compared to that.
We don't know. We'll see, but I can imagine September we're going to find out if this guy is going to be a quadruple A player or if he is actually ever going to be cut out for the majors. But I'm very surprised that Houston's so adamant about not trading him. The fact that they kept him down to protect ownership of him till 2025, they are guaranteed to have team control till 2025 as opposed to 2024. I mean, big deal.
I really feel that's just for added trade chip onto him. How many times do we see it with some team that they sit there and, nope, he's not for trade, he's not on the block, we're not going to move him, and they're just doing that to drive up the value of him. Forrest Whitley, I can understand that with, even though he's been awful.
Just horrible.
Yeah, I don't know if he's come back since his injury, because ERA was like over 10, I want to say, in AAA, and he just has not looked that good at all this year, and I don't know if it's maybe something with his delivery or possibly the injury. I really couldn't tell you what's going on with him because I haven't watched much about him, but I can agree with not giving up on Whitley, because you're talking about a guy, if he pans out, he can be one of the top pitchers in the league. Most cases, they don't ever pan out that way, and they're worth more to trade than they are to keep.
Okay, let's go talk about some injuries. What do you think? Let's talk about Corey Kluber first. For Corey Kluber. So he had his third rehab start at AAA Columbus. His fastball topped out at 89 miles per hour in the first inning before they yanked him out for precautionary reasons due to left abdominal tightness. He's supposed to have an MRI today. He's going to be shut down from throwing for the next 2 weeks. He did make his way back to Cleveland today for an MRI, though the team has not announced any results and don't expect to announce any results until Tuesday. They do say that he is expected to be shut down all the way to mid-September, and that is really horrible for the Indians because Carrasco, he's probably not even going to come back as a starter this season, and they traded Bauer. Zach Plesac and Aaron Civale, they're going to be relied upon heavily.
Plesac, I mean, you have to be really surprised about that and pretty happy, but I did hear he was actually a pretty highly rated player when he was coming out his junior year, I want to say it was, and he ended up having Tommy John surgery, and it was actually his uncle who told him, you need to go to a major league team to recover from this, and that's what convinced him to sign, and he ended up being a pretty late draft pick because of that.
145 and a third innings pitched so far this season, and last season he pitched 144 and 2/3 innings, so it really wouldn't be too much to ask of him to continue in the rotation for the rest of the season. He's got a 3.53 ERA and a 1.21 WHIP after 15 games started in the majors, and then that's 81 innings, and like I said, he pitched at AAA and AA a little bit, but it's really not that huge of an increase in innings. His stats from July 21st to August 17 in 33 innings, he's got a 3.48 and a 1.37 WHIP.
You know, honestly, what scares me about that isn't just this season, it'll be for next season, because you figure if they don't skip starts on him, use him as like an opener for a couple of these starts, he's going to be pushing 200 innings, and that's quite a bit of a jump up from 145, so
yeah, well,
that's where it starts to worry me, because now you're going to put this guy into the playoff probably pretty close to a dead arm, or even going in next season with a dead arm.
Well, let's say that Kluber comes back in mid-September. Let's just think that. Let's expect Kluber to come back in mid-September. And even with Plesac and Civale, they could throw in an opener here and there. They really, they have, and when Carrasco comes back, hopefully he will. I know he's been throwing. I don't think he's going to make it back into the rotation, but let's say that Kluber does come back. Plesac could get rested after that because the playoffs don't even start till October. And basically right now they're in a situation where they have to win. If they don't win now, they're not going to make the playoffs anyway. So what's the point of resting him now, you know?
Well, and I agree with that, but I really do not think that Kluber is going to be back this year. Just from everything that's gone on with him, he just doesn't seem to have it. I feel the best case scenario is they should shut him down until the playoffs at least, because he already played before the deadline for that, so he's still going to be eligible to be on the playoff roster. So, I mean, I don't have an issue with them doing something like that, and then they move PLESAC to the bullpen. But other than that, I really feel that they're just going to hurt PLESAC long-term by having him pitch so much.
CIVALE, last year he pitched 106 innings. Right now he's at 96. Now this guy, again, he's going to see quite the jump in innings if he continues to pitch in the rotation. In the majors, he's pitched 24 innings in 4 games started. He's pitched exactly 6 innings in each of his starts, which you got to love, right? He hardly walks anybody. He does strike out a decent, but not crazy. I mean, he struck out 16 in 18 innings with a 2.0 ERA. His ERA in the majors so far this season is 1.50. That's huge.
That's a really nice number to have so far.
He's been pitching very well, and he's actually available in 7 of 14 of my leagues, and one of them is an AL only. So the fact that he's available in all those leagues, I would take a chance on him. I would pick him up over Joe Ross. I
completely agree with that. I mean, unless you're in an NL only. And that's actually something I can see Ross getting picked up for, not to get sidetracked by that. But if you're NL only, it makes a little more sense to try to stream him and keep him on your bench for a while. But other than that, I don't see much of a point to owning him. CIVALE, though, he's pitched very well so far since he's made his debut. And I really don't have an issue with them, the way they're starting him, just for the fact that if he's only going 6 innings, it keeps his pitch count down, it keeps the innings down. They would have no problem being able to use him going forward. Do you remember what the cutoff is to be on the playoff roster?
He is going to make the playoff roster.
Okay. I'm not a fan of Tucker going forward. I can't imagine wanting him. If I owned him in a dynasty league, I would be trading him right now.
In Miami, you have Yarlin Garcia, who's listed as the Miami closer. Yarlin Garcia, dude, he's listed as the closer, but he's not had any save opportunities since July 9th. That was one that he blew. Then Ryan Stanek came in yesterday for his first save opportunity and screwed that up. He allowed 2 runs. One of them was earned on 1 hit and a walk. He struck out 2 and blew the save in Colorado. 3.40 ERA before getting traded to Miami, and now since he's been in Miami, he's given up 6 runs, 5 of them earned in 4 2/3. I don't know who's getting save opportunities in Miami now.
It doesn't seem like anybody. They might have a better chance let Jeter go out there and pitch.
No shit, right? Okay.
I mean, I would stay away from basically anybody on Miami except for Starlin.
Starlin Castro has been excellent. In the last 2 weeks, he's got 11 runs, 12 RBI, 2 home runs, a .352 batting average, and a .345 on base percentage. And you did say that he's the only Miami Marlin that you would own. Starlin Castro got screwed. He complained when he was with the Cubbies that they weren't a World Series team and he wanted to be traded, so they traded him to the Yankees. And then the Cubbies won the World Series right after that. And then the Yankees traded him to Miami, and he was not pleased about that because basically he just ended up in a way worse spot with the worst chance any kind of playoffs.
Oh, yeah, because, they are just nothing but rebuilding.
Craig Kimbrel's back, and he got his first opportunity since coming off the injured list yesterday. He came on in the 9th inning, immediately gives up a home run to Starling Marte. He hit Cole Tucker with a pitch, and then he struck out the next 2 batters. He's converted 9 of 11 save chances, and he has 19 strikeouts in 13 1/3. But his ERA is 6.08, and he's given up 5 home runs. So Steve Cishek is actually expected to be activated from the 10-day injured list ahead of tomorrow's game. So they optioned David Bote to AAA so that they have a spot for Cishek. This guy used to get saved, and I just don't know if they're going to continue throwing Kimbrel out there if he's not any good.
With the money they paid Kimbrel, I don't see them being able to pull him from that closer role. You're not paying a guy to come out in the 8th inning that much money for it.
So I just don't get the point of that. Like, just because you pay somebody a lot of money doesn't mean that you should lose games because of it.
Well, tell that to Baltimore.
Or anybody, like even Houston, because, they keep using Reddick. They own $13 million, but, they could probably get some better production. It's just that they don't want a $13 million bench player. That makes no sense. Come on.
I understand it. You pay this guy money to do certain things, but when they're not performing up to what you pay them, you have to do something to make your team better. I agree with you, especially when you're in the playoff run trying to go for the hunt of it. You can't let somebody be out there ruining your chance.
Cishek hasn't had any decent amount of saves, even though this year he does have 7 saves. That's because the Cubbies didn't have anybody else. But in the last couple of years,
he was the best closer they had until Kimbrel. But Kimbrel was somebody, it's always the case with pitchers like that. Any one of those pitchers that signed really late into the season, they never pitch too well. And
it always is very risky to take those players that are getting signed late. I mean, even players like Aaron Judge, who spent a lot of the season on the DL, you just can't really count on them to come back 100%, and that's why I traded Kimbrel and Judge away mid-season to Cha-Cha.
In my iPad or something like that, I'll keep notes on certain players, and the guys like that, like Judge and Kimbrel, they go into there. I know they're not going to perform like this next season, and they're going to go quite a few rounds later than what they did this year.
Probably.
So, and you look at, in that sense, the guys who were a first-round pick, and then they got hurt, so everybody's, oh, no, I don't want them, and they're going in the third, fourth round.
Bauer's going to be one of them next year.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of guys that, like, that's how you end up winning your league from year to year. Look at the guys who had the down year the year before and take a few dart throws on.
I totally agree with you 100%.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually kind of upset that Ramirez snapped out of it because I would have taken a flyer on him next year. I know I said this probably about a month ago, and I think you laughed at it. Somebody next year is going to take Acuna over Trout.
I will.
I wouldn't, because what happened with Mookie this year.
I just feel like, well, gosh, it's really hard to tell, but I don't know why. I just have so much more faith in Acuna than I have for any player in a long, long time. A total well-rounded player to me, and you just watch him play. He's like, he makes baseball look easy. And Mookie was the same last year, though. There wasn't a complaint that I could have had about Mookie last year.
And that's my point. So you're going to pass up the guy who has looked like that for, 7-8 years, done it 1 year.
Not just 1 year. This was supposed to be a sophomore slump. So I think that this is the other thing, though. Lou was saying the other day that Mike Trout and Acuna are the top commodities in dynasty leagues. And I say, when does Trout get old enough to where you don't consider him the top? Because a lot of people really have a lot of biases. They see age 30. They're like, that guy's too old. And I would say that even though Mike Trout is above and beyond any player we've seen in a long, long time, Acuna is not far behind him.
I would definitely put Acuna and probably Juan Soto right up there with Trout. When my dynasty league started, our 1, 2, 3 was Trout, Harper went 2, and then Bryant went 3. And that's why I feel if I have that first overall pick, if I'm not going to trade it and end up, 2 second-round picks or something by trading that with a first-rounder, and then what I mean is being my second and having 2 picks in the second and moving back in the first round, I'm going to take Trout every day.
Mike Trout, age 28, barely. He'll be 28 most of next season. That's pretty young still.
Oh, yeah, because you figure you're usually in your prime to, 31, 32? Technically, he's supposed to be entering his prime right now, but really can't imagine that he performs any better than what he has, so.
This guy has not had less than 500 at-bats in any season. He hasn't had less than 600 at-bats in all but one season, which was 2017. He had 507 plate appearances.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to argue with going with him. Already looking ahead to next year, Trout is going to be in the top 10.
He only stole 10 bases. He's not going to steal any bases going forward, dude.
Yeah, and that's what bothered how much we've seen the stolen bases drop, because last season he was saying he wanted to do a 40-30 year, and then he stole 10 bags.
Right, and speed does not get better with age.
No. That's what those speed guys have to learn, is start hitting the ball with pop if they want to keep their career going.
I just don't like that with the 10 stolen bases. We've seen it so many times in baseball where a player who steals bases stops stealing bases. I mean, he had 30 in 2016, 22 in 2017, 24 in 2018, and 10. So,
well, we're going to eventually see the same fallout from Acuna.
Yes, but not for a long time.
And
for the next few years, Acuna is going to continue to get more steals and more power. Look at Trout. He started out with stealing bases. He started out in 2012, he stole 49 bases. In 2013, he stole 33. And then he took a couple years off from stealing bases, which is odd to me. That is so weird. He stole 16 bases and then 11 bases.
I would honestly put that on the coaching staff when he's stealing that little. Somebody of his talent should not have had a year under 25 stolen bases.
He didn't steal bases for 2 years. That's odd to me. But he still had plenty of plate appearances, so he must not have been very hurt. And he's got 41 homers already this season, so he's on pace for maybe 53. I think I read the other day he's on pace for 53.
It's easily a career high for him. Career high was like 39 before.
Okay, look at my boy Acuna, though, dude. Look at him, okay? Just look at this little gold mine.
Well, yeah, but he's not going to get to the 40 bases that everybody... Are you going to keep telling him to run when you're in a playoff hunt and your team is dropping like flies?
I don't even care about that for this.
Injury with that?
No, I wouldn't do that. But I'm saying, like, in general, his stolen base numbers, the sky's the limit for this guy, dude, especially...
Somebody who could do a 40-40 year.
He's got 29 right now. I don't know. I'd put him right up there with Mike Trout, dude, even though I know that he has a lot less experience, and I will give him a big knock for that, because Trout does it year in, year out, doesn't get injured, has proven this over and over, not just one time.
Oh, exactly, because even when Trout goes on the injured list, he's on it for the minimum, and then he's right back.
Okay, the next guy we're going to talk about is Vladdy Jr. Left Saturday's game, knee soreness. Same knee, though, that kept him out for a little over a month, almost a month and a half last year, with a strained patellar tendon. The MRI showed only inflammation, so the Blue Jays have an off day today. And basically when they interviewed him, he said that he doesn't feel like he did last year. It's a completely different injury is what he says. They don't need a DH for a while because tomorrow they start a 6-game West Coast road trip. They play against the Dodgers, so they don't need a DH. And then they go against the Mariners. And by the time they play against the Mariners, I think he'll probably be ready. He says he's going to come back when he's ready. The Blue Jays aren't making the playoffs. They could be very cautious with him. They do have Brandon Drury. This guy plays all over the place. I benched Rhys Hoskins for Brandon Drury.
Wow.
I had to.
I was going to say Hoskins has been very, very poor over the last
so
month. So
freaking bad. He doesn't even look like the same guy. He must be hurt.
I wouldn't be shocked out of that, and he's trying to play through something because I want to say the last 3 weeks he hasn't gotten over like 150 batting average.
Rhys Hoskins, there's no possible way that he's playing this horrible. And Bryce Harper's hitting now, right? When Harper's not hitting, Rhys Hoskins is hitting like crazy, or maybe he's just tired. He's still young, but he didn't do this.
Possible, but they did move him back over to first base, which is his natural spot, so he's not having to move around as much either.
I don't know what his problem is, but it's benchable. It is freaking benchable. And George, don't feel bad because guess what? I benched him, so I bet you anything he'll hit a home run. Let's see what he's done today. I bet he's hit a home run. Will tomorrow since I benched him. So, Vladdy Jr., what do you think they're going to do with Vladdy?
The patellar tendon is a very tender thing. Trust me, I have a very good idea of that. Through all the working out and running, I've had tendonitis in my knee, and it lasts like 6 weeks, and I'm not kidding. I'll make it about a half a mile, and it just feels like somebody has grabbed my knee with both giant hands, and they're just squeezing the hell out of it. If you're just running like 90-foot sprints, you can get away with it, taking a break on it, but that's what concerns me. Trying to run on that really does hurt like hell.
Any tendon, if you stress it or strain it, it's really sensitive situation because if you tear it, a lot of times athletes are going to go for the surgery. Sometimes if you just have a minor tear in a tendon, they'll try to put it in the...
Well, that's what confuses me about it.
Okay, it's the same knee, but he says it's not the same tendon. It's a lot going on in your knee. You have ligaments, tendons, joints. You have all kinds of shit going on in there, right? Last year, it was the same knee, but it was a strained tendon. And this year, it just says that the MRI in his knee shows inflammation. I don't know for sure which part of his knee. It could be his ligaments. It could be his muscle. It could be all of these things. But the fact that it's the same knee, Chris Sale out for the season. So we had a lot to say about Chris Sale. Of course, the news came out right before our show that he's out for the season. He's not going to, it isn't for sure that he's going to avoid TJ surgery, but they say that...
Well, I did see that he wasn't going to get it. Andrews did look at it. He's not going to need Tommy Johns.
I don't like that, dude. I say get the fucking Tommy John and get on with your life, dude. You still got 5 more years to play for us. This is me being the Red Sox management. Get in there and get your fucking surgery because you don't even start your 5-year contract until next season, and I'm not going to be paying $37 million or $50 million or whatever the fuck it is for a guy that's going to be half injured and 1 pitch away from Tommy John surgery at any minute.
Well, let's be honest. He's been half injured the last, 3 years, so I'm probably not that long.
He's old, dude.
This season and last season. He's not that old. He's, 29 now?
Fuck, it seems like he's so old because he has
I know, he's been in the league for so long. But
innings.
That too. But that has been a concern on Sale since he was with the White Sox.
He needs to get the surgery, dude. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I was going to say. A lot of people have had the concern he's going to end up needing Tommy Johns because of that, Condor-style pitching where he brings his arm back so far. And I'm actually shocked at how successful he's been throughout his career just for the fact, he's basically showing you the pitch that he's going to throw to you, and he's challenging you with it.
But he's good.
It's the same kind of wind-up that Strasburg has had.
Okay, but Strasburg is
so far.
Strasburg has been raised on a glass shelf with the china dishes, okay? Sale comes from the White Sox where he got a little bit, he's kind of sassy.
Sale was... He was kind of babied because he actually made his major league career debut, I believe, the year he was drafted.
Oh.
He was a September call-up, and I want to say that year and the following year they used him out of the bullpen, and he was being debated on to be their closer.
Oh, geez. Why, dude? He wasn't... Well, okay, moving on to this factor, where we are now. I think I was reading the other day that Sale was the youngest to get to 2,000 innings. Oh, wait, here it is. So it says...
2,000 strikeouts.
Yeah, 2,000 strikeouts in 1,626 innings. That's faster than any other pitcher in MLB history. But his 5-year contract, it doesn't even start till next season, okay? He gets $15 million this year, and then his 5-year deal kicks in next year. And then he gets an opt-out clause after the 2022 season. But if he's all messed up and he's not pitching well, why the fuck would he opt out?
Yeah, and that really just hurts Boston long run with it.
Boston sucks. What they've done is an atrocious mess, okay, what they've done. Now they got Eovaldi back. Okay, first of all.
Well, and Eovaldi was terrible yesterday.
Yes, of course he's terrible. He's probably totally hates it there. He probably absolutely hates his life because he signed with a team that lied to him. Told him that they would put him in the rotation. Yes, he got hurt, but he wasn't even stretched out to be a starter. And if they would have stretched him out to be a starter, then he could have been a starter when he came back. Even if he only had to go like 5 innings or 4 innings, maybe he could have started out slow and come in after an opener of some kind. But now he is the opener. He hates. That's got to be worse than being the starter or the fucking closer, okay? Because now you're an opener. You get 2 innings. 5 earned runs, 3 walks, a strikeout. His ERA was 6.69 now. They went through 7 pitchers yesterday that they needed when they started Eovaldi. It didn't really work out for the Red Sox because you want to know why? They didn't bother to put any structure in their bullpen. They didn't bother adding the pieces that were clearly needed from the day that they the day that they decided they weren't going to take up Kimbrel again and sign him. They should have known that we need to get some cheap-ass closer because at least we need some bodies in our bullpen. Eovaldi, they just stuck in there because they didn't feel like getting anybody to help him out. People say, well, he wasn't ready to pitch us as a starter, but I don't buy that shit because they could have stretched him out while they were rehabbing him. Just like every other starting pitcher gets stretched out when they rehab them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing is that you'll throw him out there for 2-3 innings the first start in rehab, then probably about 4 to 5, and then the third one you just let him go loose.
Now they're stuck with Eovaldi in their rotation where he should have been in the beginning, but now he's pissed off because he knows he's only there because they have to put him there. And
not just that, he's stuck there for the next 3 seasons after this. So it's going to cause some bitterness in the clubhouse. And realistically, I really feel that if Boston doesn't even make the playoffs, Cora might not have a job next year.
Good for him. Somebody's got to go. The decisions that they've made this year are just ridiculous. They're making decisions like a freaking I'm not even going to say anybody because everybody's making better decisions than the Red Sox this year. I don't know a team in baseball that's made worse decisions than the Red Sox or like no decisions. You are the freaking World Series champions, okay?
And you made no effort to repeat, basically.
And because and you're already past the tax threshold, so you're already getting taxed a shit ton of money. You've been going over for years now, so you are at the max capacity. Does it really matter if you go to the second tier of the tax threshold, or because they're under the second tier, so they don't want to spend like $12 million to get into the next?
You know what? Here's the thing, though: is it realistically, if they wanted to say pull like what the Yankees did and do a quick blow up and retool, they can't losing Sale now. If he ends up being out for a long-term possibility,
a complete blow up. They're not going to completely
I'm not
blow
saying
up.
A complete blow up. You can't do that. Like I said,
well, maybe they need some. You know what they need to do is they need to trade off some. They need to trade off some of these half-ass wits and get some prospects because they have 0 in their minor league system. They need to get a little lesson from the Yankees, dude. The Yankees when they started getting Gleyber Torres, they were getting players before them even. They were getting all kinds of youngsters at one point. Remember?
Yes. Well, and actually, George just put this in there. He said Eovaldi has had 2 TJ surgeries as well. I thought it was just the 2 bone spur surgeries, and it sounds like it's 4 surgeries on the same elbow.
That's fine, though. He did that.
Deal?
What he did for the Red Sox last playoffs, dude, was after 2 Tommy John surgeries, and what he did gave him the right to get on a team that offered him a starting job, and he wanted to be a starter. He told...
I won't argue with that, but to give him a 4-year deal instead of like a 2?
I think that even maybe if he didn't pitch that well as a starter, I think that I can't imagine that the feelings would be so harsh if it was like, I'm not cutting it as a starter and they throw me back in the bullpen. Fine. I don't think the feelings would be. And by the way, I didn't hear Eovaldi say anything that he was frustrated. I just assume that this is how I would feel if that is the situation that happened to me, looking at it from his point of view. And maybe he's totally fine with it, but I just... he said, I signed with the Red Sox because they offered me a spot in the rotation. Now they just, come on, man, what they did. Now they're stuck with him.
On that. I really feel he has to be saying something in the locker room, but he's at least handling it in the right sense that he's not making it public.
Well, he's not pitching well.
And that's true. He hasn't pitched well this whole season.
He's not pitching well, dude. Ryan Brazier came back up. This fool, dude, 1 inning. Well, he struck out 2 and walked 1. Okay, but there was 7 pitchers in yesterday's game with Cashner getting a hold. He's dumbass too. I mean, the Red Sox, their walks with Eovaldi walked 3 yesterday, and he only pitched 2 innings. So, look, maybe Eovaldi would have been this crappy had he been, given the opportunity. That I think that even if he would have eventually went into the bullpen because he sucked, I don't think it would have been as offensive. Nobody really gets that. So maybe Eovaldi doesn't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. Maybe he's like, shut up, you don't even know. I don't feel fine.
Well, it's a good thing he doesn't listen to us, huh?
I think he does. I think he does listen. All right, so the Red Sox have been able to shimmy around this problem because they've had 2 days off in less than a week, and they've only needed 3 starting pitchers. They've also won 4 consecutive series, if you can believe that, but they're still 6.5 games out of the wild card spot. And I will say this, they have a 7.3% chance of making the playoffs according to Fangraphs. Their team is falling apart like spaghetti noodles when they're fully cooked.
I really cannot imagine them catching Indians for the wild card spot or who's competing for that second one?
It's freaking, listen,
the Rays?
Oakland, maybe.
Oh, there you go.
Well, Houston better watch out because Oakland's got some shit, dude. They could beat Houston. Here's where the Red Sox pitching stands with Eduardo Rodriguez, their ace. And by the way, he's been actually really pretty good. Eduardo Rodriguez has thrown over 100 pitches like his last 3 or 4 starts. So he's been consistently good, especially in DFS because he goes late into games. Eduardo Rodriguez is not a disappointment, but the rest of the freaking whole Red Sox franchise.
Well, one thing I've noticed with the Rodriguez is he seems to get beaten up by the Yankees still. So that's one time I would actually avoid him.
Oh, who gives a shit? The Yankees will crush the Red Sox. The Red Sox deserve not to make the playoffs because their team is not good enough. And I hope that Cora gets replaced by somebody like Ozzie Guillen. Ozzie Guillen would be a fucking joy for me to see in Boston.
I would love to see Ozzie come back. Actually,
can you
imagine?
Would be the
greatest thing?
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
What retribution for him since the Yankees basically said, no, we don't want to pay you, even though they've done nothing but pay people for their careers.
Such a great idea, dude. That's my mantra from now on. The Red Sox need Girardi. I hate the Yankees, but Girardi is an excellent manager, dude. He just loves talking on TV. Way more comfortable there, dude, than, I have to say, who the hell would want to go back to that when they get to sit in an NBC studio and just in the air condition and talk about everybody?
Oh, Girardi will be back. He loves being in the dugout too much.
I don't think he likes it.
I think he loved it. I really would be shocked to not see him coaching again. I really do feel if the Cubs get rid of Madden, he ends up going there.
No.
If not, I could see Boston making a big move for him.
The Red Sox, oh, lordy, that would be wonderful. Other than that, dude, the Red Sox are just not going to do it. Sean Doolittle. Let's talk about Sean Doolittle. 7.36 ERA since the All-Star break. First, he blew a 3-run lead to the Brewers Saturday, and then they put him on the IL yesterday. He's got right knee tendonitis. They also have Hunter Strickland and Daniel Hudson, right? The last 7 games, Hunter Strickland, last year he was going to be the closer in San Francisco. He was going to be the closer when Melanson was down. He is in Washington, but he also went to Seattle. He's only pitched 10 innings this season. The Nationals are not going to be messing around with this stupid Sean Doolittle cat. They're going to replace him with either Daniel Hudson or Strickland if he continues to falter. Maybe now that he's on the DL, they have to. These are the 2 guys that I think have the most chance of getting saves. Daniel Hudson has 7 games, 6 1/3, 7 strikeouts, a 1.11 whip, and a 1.42 ERA.
I'll tell you, I'm always scared of the Nationals closers because you always expect something very good, at least 30 saves out of these guys, and none of them end up doing it. They end up just destroying the bullpen all the time.
There's so many messy bullpens this year, dude.
Is it the manager not knowing how to use the bullpen, or is it really the bullpen is that bad?
Well, let me tell you, okay? Let me tell you for teams, for bullpens. I will tell you. The Nationals have the second worst bullpen in baseball with a 6.09 ERA on the season.
Doolittle finished out the year great, but this year he's just been awful.
He sucked.
At the top of my head, only bullpen that I can really think of that I like, and I was hearing stats about it earlier, is the Yankees.
Well, the Indians have the best bullpen in baseball since the All-Star break, the second half.
Which, I'll tell you right now, I'm actually shocked by it. Here in MLB Network this morning, when Ottavino, Green, and
they have Britton.
When all 4 of them pitch, they are 30-0.
Oh, you're shitting me. That's an excellent tidbit.
And
Hold on. It's Zach Britton, Ottavino, Chad Green, and Chapman?
When 3 of them pitched, it was like 24-6. It was just ridiculous stat. When they only used 1 or none of them, they had this just dominating record. So I was hearing that the Yankees actually want to rest their bullpen right now for the playoffs.
Rest it till the playoffs, dude. They better watch out or Tampa Bay's going to catch up with them.
Yeah, but if that happens, they're still going to be in for the wild card.
They better watch out with their pitching, dude. But their bullpen, they could do their bullpen. I'm telling you, every game in the playoffs, they could do just 4 relievers.
Chapman, he has been a little shaky in the 9th, but other than that, I really can't complain about him. I know I've seen a lot of Yankees fans complain about how he's blowing saves and things like that.
He's solid in the playoffs.
Exactly. He's somebody that's going to shut it down and lock everything up for you.
30-0 when they use 4 of those pitchers in a game. How often? 30 games they've done that.
Which is insane. You know what? I can understand it because you think about it. How many times has CC gone over 5 innings this year?
None of them are going late into games.
No, because they don't even have their best pitchers. Could you imagine if Severino actually makes a comeback?
Oh, shit, dude. Are you kidding me? Or Stanton? What the fuck? Stanton's not even been in all season. Can you even imagine?
Well, you have that.
Listen to me.
Severino.
Sanchez, Judge, Stanton. These 3 guys were like the king of home runs. They were going to hit more home runs than entire teams. And they were out from... Stanton hasn't played at all. I don't think.
He's played probably like 10 games so far this year,
well, as far as I'm considered, he's just a complete loss. And the Yankees, just imagine...
That's the sad part with what you're paying him.
What they're paying these guys and then what their youngsters are doing is that I wonder if they would have even been this good had these guys been in there. But think about it. If they had been in there and they hit like their normal selves...
Well, I mean, you know what really did it, though, is their 2 pickups that they made in the offseason.
With LeMahieu?
LeMahieu was one.
Yes.
And the other one, I don't know if he was an off-season pickup or sometime last season, but Gio Urshela.
He came and he didn't even really come and play in the early.
Missing Miguel Andujar. We weren't even talking about that, who's another one of their good power hitters. I mean, granted, he's really somebody that they should trade and just stick with Urshela, see what they really do have out of him, because I want to say he was designated by the Indians. But he had 3 years with the Indians that they actually tried to see what he could do, and they didn't really give him too much of a chance.
Really? Wow.
Now with the Yankees, he's, just been tremendous.
Yeah, whatever they're doing, dude, is working for youngsters. I will give them that completely. Okay, Melanson, he's coming back. Well, he's hitless and scoreless inning yesterday to record his 4th save. It was his 2nd save of this series, and now he has saves in 3 of his last 5 appearances, and I guarantee he got traded from San Francisco to Atlanta, which confuses the shit out of me because his contract is not cheap.
No, and usually Atlanta does not like to take on money like that, but, we've seen, was it Anthopoulos? This is their GM, right?
Yeah, something like that.
He actually tried this in Toronto. Remember, he went out and got Josh Donaldson and signed Bautista to the big contract. I mean, he actually went and spent money, and they had a very good contending team, even though they didn't make anything of it.
Shane Green is still on this team in Atlanta. He
was just acquired at the break.
Yes, both of these guys. So you have Melanson and Shane Green, but first of all, I don't know what kind of contract they had transferred over to Atlanta. I'm not sure about that, but what I know is
Shane Green, I know, is I think he still has next year under roster control. So
Melanson's on for like the next couple.
Cheap, but yeah, Melanson there. I mean, you could have 3 relievers, at least maybe 4 for what you're paying him.
Yeah, well, he's the closer, I think. I think he's going to be the closer for sure. I don't think anybody's going to get in the way.
And I wouldn't argue with that because you look at how good he was when he was with Pittsburgh. And, when he was with the Giants, he's obviously been very shaky.
He had a bad injury, dude, in his arm. He had a really bad injury where his muscles were, like, deteriorating.
Yeah, and that's actually something scary. I honestly let go of him in a dynasty league because I really thought his career was over.
So did I. I'm surprised to see him pitching, and I think it's great, so whoopee for him. But absolutely, I could tell you that Mark Melanson is owned he's available in 4 out of 14 leagues, and I'm owning him in 2 leagues. But I know that just because of his contract alone, that if this guy is pitching well, he's going to get the first chance at saves no matter where he goes.
And honestly, this is something we've been talking about, though. For the money you're paying him, don't you have to give him the chance to be a closer?
Let me check him out, what he's costing. I just remember I mean, a couple years ago, I remember going down for the labor draft. I was talking with some of the guys. They were talking about Mark Melanson, and that's when I figured out that I didn't think he was ever going to come back from the injury because his muscle was so messed up. But every draft, I'm always tempted to pick him out, you know, at the very last pick or whatever, because he did have a couple good seasons, and they signed him to a much bigger contract. And I don't think that the fans are very sad about losing him, because the fans in San Francisco never got to see, you know, what he did.
What he did with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. His contract is...
Again, they probably feel the same way about Evan Longoria. They never got to see the Tampa Bay years, and they're paying him for them.
Tampa Bay, yeah. Evan Longoria had 5 and 10 rights. So he got to enact his no-trade clause to any team that he wanted, and he deserved it, too. But, yes, I agree. That's what happens when the Red Sox send players to the Yankees, like when they're at the end. Like Johnny Damon, perfect example. And Johnny Damon, and who's the latest? Ellsbury.
Ellsbury is one. Carl Crawford, I believe, was one. Or
Every once in a while...
Crawford, he just stuck in the AL East. He started out with Tampa. Then I want to say he went to Boston, and then he went to the Yankees.
And Dodgers.
So, yeah, well, that was where he finished out his career. But I'm just saying, like, he basically just stuck around the AL East for his entire career, basically.
Mark Melanson, $62 million contract he signed in December of 2016. So he still has another year and a half. Or actually, it looks 4 years, 2016. He traded to the Braves in July of 19. But that means he still has a year left. It's not as bad as I thought it was. It's going to be 62 divided by 4, which would be
about 14
million a year, which is pretty a lot to pay for a guy that's been injured.
A little bit higher. It's about 15, a little over 15.
Ever since he went, dude, it sucks for them. They signed him to $15 million a year for 4 years. And the very first year, he pitches 30 innings. And then the year after that, he pitches 39 innings. And then, I mean, this is coming after 4 straight seasons that he pitched over 70 innings. And so they signed him to this crazy... And his ERA jumps from like 1-something to 4-something. And San Francisco, you just can't be pleased at all with this purchase, you know?
No, and you would figure he would have done very well there because of how friendly that park is to pitchers.
Maybe Dan will tell us. He's coming on in 20 minutes. Okay, so let's talk about Mark Melanson. We're going to pick him up. That's what I say, pick his ass up. What about Junior Guerra, Milwaukee reliever?
Actually somebody that I've loved. You know, my Dynasty League, I actually held on to him even though knowing he was going to be used as a reliever this year because I expected him to be like a Ryan Yarborough, not where he was going to be getting 3-4 innings at a time, just the fact that he had an easy chance to pick up wins out of their bullpen.
He gets win. Well, I mean, look, on the whole season, he's only pitched 29 innings, okay? Well, 60 days. The last 60 days, he's had 4 wins, but in the last 14 days, in the last 2 weeks, he's had 3. No, it says August 6th he got a win, right? And then he got a win on the 7th.
Basically is when he's gotten the majority of his wins.
All within the last 30 days. 14 days he's had. I can see.
Actually, it was within the last 2 weeks he's gotten 3 of his wins.
Yeah, in the last 2 weeks he's gotten 3 wins. Now, I don't know if this is just a streak that's not going to last because sometimes it is, but some of these pitchers that get wins like this are just positioned in the order in the right place. Like John Gant gets wins all the time. You know, John Gant has been a pretty decent pitcher in my bullpens and my fantasy teams this year because he just has good ratios and he gets wins. Like, for no other reason than whatever that is. But what do you think of this guy? He's pitching 2 innings here and there. He's getting wins. He's got a 1.17 ERA and a 7.8 whip in the last 14 days. But in the last 30, he's got still under 2 ERA, 1.76.
Yeah, he's been pitching very well lately. I mean, I wouldn't be able to get upset with him if, you know, the only thing I would really be upset with is if you're in a league that counts holds. Other than that, it's hard to say that he's going to be owned in any league, but if you need help at the ERA department, he's really going to help it out for you right now. Or
wins. What if you need, like, just a couple wins and there's nobody good starting? I mean, if you had to pick between Joe Ross and Junior Guerra, I would probably take Guerra. He never walks more than one batter And I mean, I know he pitches very few innings, but still he doesn't walk guys.
Well, yeah, but his ratio isn't that good. Over the last week, he's got last 2 weeks, 5 strikeouts to 3 walks. So it's not like he's doing that well in that department of it.
Well, he's getting he's got an ERA and a whip. I mean, his whip is under. How come his whip is so good if he's walking that many? 3 walks and 5 strikeouts, and his whip is under 1.
In that time, he's given up 3 hits as well.
So how is his whip so little?
3 hits and 3 walks. Well, that's 6 total for 7 2/3. That's less than 1.
It doesn't say how many batters he faced, too, so he's only given up 3 hits. It's his hits that is helping his whip so much because his hits are very low. He gave up 7 hits in 15 innings in the last 30 days, so 7. Okay, let's move on. I like him. I think that I would probably pick him up instead of Joe Ross if I needed wins.
Montgomery has been somebody who's proven to be able to pitch very well.
1 unearned run against the Mets, 6 innings, 80 pitches, 5 hits, 2 walks. Last Saturday, before that, he struck out 12 in 7 shutout innings. Of course, it was against a horrible team in Detroit. But in his last 5 games, he has a 2.30 ERA with 26 strikeouts and 7 walks in 27 1/3 innings. I love this guy. I know that everybody's a big fan of Joe Ross. I get that. But at least this guy's had an ERA that's in the 3s.
The only thing that really bothers me, he doesn't get run support, so how can he get you wins? Because if he gives up 2 runs...
I understand that he doesn't get a lot of run support, and I also understand that he's probably not great to rely on for wins. I don't know if you can really... For Mike Montgomery, his next matchup is going to be Wednesday in Baltimore, and that's okay, even though Baltimore's kind of a hitter's park. They could beat Baltimore. He has a 3.68 ERA and a 27-5 strikeout to walk ratio through 6 starts and 29 innings since he joined the Royals. So he came from Chicago.
I saw the splits on it. When he came over from Chicago, it was like his first 4 starts, he was awful. And then the last 2, he's just been fantastic.
Well, he's made 6 starts, and seriously, since he's become a Royal, he's been much better. I don't know if that has anything to do with... No, we talked about Mike Montgomery, but I will tell you that I think that Jake Junis, too, for Kansas City is also pitching decent right now. I swear, this guy goes through streaks where he pitches good. You know, he gives up home runs like crazy in batches, but he's given up, in the last 30 days, he's given up 4 home runs. In the last 2 weeks, he's given up just 1 home run. That's 18 innings, last 2 weeks. His last outing, the last 3, he's gone 7 innings and 6 innings. He's going late into games. He's not giving up very many hits, less hits than innings pitched. Still walking a few, but he's striking out batters. Jake Junis could be picked up right now and be useful in fantasy. Okay, what about Josh Rojas for the Arizona Diamondbacks? I was listening to a podcast today from The Athletic. They were talking about Josh Rojas. They were talking about the fact that he plays everywhere. He literally plays pretty much everywhere but center field. He played all over the place down in the minors. Default, when he came up to the majors, he came up with second base eligibility because that's how many, that's where he played the most this year in the minors, 45 times. But literally, he played first base, third base, shortstop, everywhere. But he came up as a second baseman, and now he's played in the outfield enough times for Arizona that he qualifies in the outfield now, too. They say that he's going to get lots of opportunity. He has great plate discipline. He's got a good contact rate. His strikeout rate is super low in the minors. It was 14%. Right now, it's 20%. He's had 24 plate appearances, 21 at-bats. He's walking at 12.5% of the time and striking out 20% of the time. But it's really mostly about, for this guy, the opportunity and the plate discipline. If you're looking for somebody that's going to be like a set it and forget it type, Jose Iglesias type player or whatever, this would be an okay choice. I think that these guys might...
The stats pulled up right now, so 7 games that he's played, he has a hit in 5 of them. He's hitting .286 with 3 runs, no home runs, 2 RBI, and a stolen base. So definitely looking at somebody that is well worth being owned. You know what the issue is? The league that I went to pull up his stats in, he's already owned.
Oh, really? Yeah, well, that's the guy. Go check him out. I mean, I can tell by my little Fantasy Pros app here how many leagues he's available in my leagues. I have 14 leagues. Is he available? Let's see.
I am so glad that I don't have that many leagues. I would
Josh Rojas. He's available in 9 of 14 of my leagues. I know, I can't keep track, and it's really stunting my growth here as far as winning. James McCann, he's getting into the lineup every day, even though he's not playing catcher. He's also playing DH. Listen to the last week for James McCann. 11 RBIs and 2 home runs. He's batting .435, 23 at-bats, 24 plate appearances, and, I mean, just 435 he's hitting. In the last 21 days, he's hitting 344. This guy is having, I mean, he's only starting to hit home runs now, but I would say that if I saw James McCann out there, I would take him over Wellington Castillo because he actually qualifies a catcher, but he's not playing it.
I would be very shocked if McCann isn't owned.
Let's see. Brian James. We want James. He's available in only 3 of my leagues. So James McCann could be somebody to look at, but I'm telling you, Wellington Castillo, I needed to replace Cam Gallagher went on the DL. I needed to replace him. Wellington Castillo is hitting home runs lately. It seems like, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you think that I think he's been good. He's been hitting 315 over the last 7 days, striking out a shit ton, but you know, he is hitting and getting some RBIs, and I really think the White Sox hitting is better than they're getting credit for.
Well, yes, because their pitching has been, at best, subpar. So, but granted, that does have a lot to do with the fact of how many injuries they've taken on.
So, Teoscar Hernandez in Toronto, they say that he tweaked his swing some earlier this season when he was down being demoted to AAA. But in the second half, he has 11 home runs, dude, and 20 RBIs and 22 runs. Last year, I loved this guy in labor, and if he just got full-time playing time, it would seem that he would be hitting a lot. There's no doubt about it that this guy has power, but he also strikes out 34% of the time. Every
time I try to do something with him, he ends up playing terribly.
Dude.
Then when I try to when I drop him is when he starts to play well.
Well, right now in August, he's got 4 home runs, 10 runs, 8 ribbies, and he bats .256. And in the second half of the season, I told you he has 11 home runs, 98 at bats. Power, you can throw him in. If you need a couple home runs, you can throw him in.
Right now, absolutely.
Isn't going to hurt your batting average at all right now, but he very well could if he stops hitting and starts striking out. That guy's going to go work out, so catch you later, that guy.
Yep. Have a good night, everyone.